Welcome to the Original Gangsters podcast. I'm your host, Scott Burnstein. Quick hitter edition. I want to touch on the anniversary of the infamous Paul Castellano assassination. Biggest mob hit of the last, 20 years of the 20th century. Catapulted John Gotti to power and jump-started the Gotti regime, which was pretty iconic, pretty historic. Everybody knows that follows this stuff. Castellano was gunned down in front of Spark Steakhouse on the night of December 16th, 1985, 39 years ago this week. And the story has been told thousands of times. And I don't really want to tell that story. I found a slice of the story that really hasn't been told that I do want to talk about and let everybody in on. And that is, what was Paul Castellano doing in the hours before his assassination? And he was handling mob business to the very end. He was, the afternoon of December 16th, 1985, he was in Staten Island in the back of a restaurant holding a sit-down and mediating a beef between the Cavalcante crime family, the real-life Sopranos, the New Jersey Mafia, and their boss, John the Eagle Riggi, and the Bonanno crime family, and a member of the Bonannos named Gabe Infante, and issues that were coming up on the New Jersey waterfront, as well as in the construction unions. And this was like a 3-4 hour lunch. I think it lasted from 12:30 to 4:30, and FBI surveillance was on top of it. And Castellano allegedly ruled in favor of the Cavalcantes. Gabe Infante had inherited some rackets from Bayonne Joe Zuccarelli. He had died a couple years before that. And there was some shakedowns of some construction companies and some companies that worked on the docks that were being disputed, who had control of those people, who that tribute money should go to. And Castellano, Tommy Bellotti, and I'm told Frank DeCicco was also there. Bellotti would end up being gunned down with Castellano. DeCicco was part of the conspiracy to murder Castellano and was present at Spark Steakhouse waiting inside, along with Jimmy Brown, Tommy Gambino. I think there was one other guy that was there as well. But they were, except for DeCicco, they were surprised to not see Paul walking in to meet them for dinner, but hearing gunshots and seeing him assassinated out in front in the middle of the Christmas shopping season. Very, very bold move, cowboy style, just the way John Gotti liked it. And it's also interesting to note what Riggi's take on the whole matter was. And after the sit down, after the assassination, the FBI had a favorite restaurant of Riggi bugged, and this was 10 days later. So I believe it would have been the day after Christmas. The FBI bug picked up a conversation at Riggi's, one of his favorite lunch spots called Daphne's Lounge, that was located in the Sheraton Hotel in Elizabeth, New Jersey. And he was having lunch with his underboss at that time, Jimmy Dumps Palermo. And the FBI heard Riggi basically, this is what our stance is, telling Palermo. And his statements were, we don't want any part of this. This is none of our business. We're not going to chime in one way or the other, whether he said, this was his exact quote, whether right, wrong, in the middle, it doesn't matter to us. We don't want any part of it. And, saying that we're neutral, we're Switzerland. And we'll deal with whoever the new boss is, and there'll be no problems. And he's telling Jimmy Palermo to relay this to the street. And the last part of the wiretap for that particular meal was telling. And these are two old school guys talking to each other in the middle of kind of a changeover in generations. In the late 70s, 80s, you had all the new guys coming in and the old guard going away. And Palermo says to John Riggi, like, was this cleared by the commission? Like, are you allowed to just kill a boss? And Riggi says, this is a new era. This is the new mold of wise guys that we're dealing with now. And none of the old protocol applies. And these guys are going to do the things that they want to do and how they want to do it. And we have to stop thinking like it's 1975 or 1965 when Don Carlo was alive or when Vito Genovese was alive, before Joe Bonanno got exiled and so forth. And it just was an interesting little snippet where he's saying that this whole thing of ours there's been a tectonic shift and, a sea change. And this assassination that just happened, when they're talking, days earlier, represented the new way of doing things. And it didn't sound as if he was lamenting it. It sounded like he was accepting it and explaining it and telling his number two to go tell the rest of the organization that this is just the way it's going to be from now on. So I wanted to share that. I thought that was pretty interesting. Nobody really talks about the hours before Castellano was assassinated. We all know that he came into Manhattan and went to his attorney's office before he went to that fateful dinner at Sparks Steakhouse that he never got to enjoy. And he gave out Christmas gifts to his lawyers and his lawyers' employees and secretaries and whatnot. And then from the lawyer's office, made it to Sparks, where he was gunned down. None of the shooters were ever definitively identified or charged. Gotti was convicted of the conspiracy. And Frank DeCicco, who was part of that conspiracy, was very close to Paul Castellano, but jumped ship to Gotti, became Gotti's underboss for a short period of time. But then he was assassinated in the spring of '86 because some of the other crime families' bosses, specifically the Chin, other guys in I believe the Lucchese's, did not approve of the move to kill Castellano without a green light from the commission. So they tried to kill Gotti, and Gotti just happened to not be in the car. I think the person that detonated the bomb thought Gotti was in the car with DeCicco, but it wasn't Gotti, and detonated that bomb, and DeCicco was blown to pieces. But that's our little story time with Bernie here at the OG Pod, talking about the very, very historic 1985 gangland assassination of Paul Castellano, which gave us John Gotti and really started the first chapter, I would say, in how the Mafia would be ever since. And I think there's a lot of reaping what you sowed 40 years later. So please like, share, and subscribe to OG Pod. Check out our companion web magazine, The Gangster Report. Hit up our Patreon, where we have a members-only Patreon, where we do a little bit more analysis, not so newsy. We're doing a travel blog right now where we hit different parts of the country and talk about, kind of unknown mob stories from parts of the country that I'd never been to before. And we're also going to be rolling out some exclusive Q&As on the members only with some LCN guys that have never told their story. That's going to be coming up soon, and we'll have more information for you coming up. OG Pod, uncovering the underworld, one city, one region, one country at a time. I'm Scott Burnstein. I'm out.